Yo, what's going on, my peoples? This is 𝐊𝐄𝐃𝐄𝐃 in the building with OK Beatz. And this is a beat tutorial. Basically just showing you how I would make a beat real quick. I definitely dropped some gems for you if you pay attention. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to it. I put 152 BPM. Picked out some sounds already, but I'm not done picking out sounds because that's one thing that I see a lot about these tutorials. They usually already have the sounds picked out. So I kind of wanted to go through that process with y'all as well, so y'all could kind of see how I go about that, picking and choosing sounds and stuff like that. I do, however, have something that I like to call go-to sounds or go-to instruments, and some of those instruments include this here Jupiter 8 by Arturia. Like, I really like the sounds that it has. Like, it has some really like vintagey sounds, I guess. I like vintagey synths and bells and really just different types of sounds that you won't find on any regular old piano. You know what I mean? I went ahead and turned on the metronome so I could stay on beat with this, even though I still might have to do some fine touches here and there with the pattern on the piano roll. Here we go. So, okay, I went ahead and made that little basic melody there. Turn it off a record and listen to it. It's not totally on beat, I guess, but it's not horrible. Like, I have to do very minor shifting. I'm actually gonna leave it like that because I like it. I like that it's a little tiny bit off beat. It's gonna give it a little character. Let me see what else we got here. We got the CZ5 from Arturia as well. This likes to give you like brassy sounds, you know what I mean? Like woodwinds and stuff like that. But I think I'm gonna go with a sound like this that is kind of like a mallet / synth type deal. So it's like a blend. But like I said, I like these really vintagey vibes. So I try to choose things that kind of match. Okay, so here we go. Let me press record. All right. Since I already did it right the first time, I'm gonna go ahead and keep the first bit, highlight all of this, and get rid of it because I don't need it. Wow. So let's see what that sounds like. Wait, without the metronome. Not bad, okay. You see, so we got a little something going on there. Yeah, I'm gonna take those two things that create the basic melody, and I'm gonna select them on the channel rack. You see that? And then I'm gonna press Command L to send it to the mixer here, channels 5 and 6. So when I mix this here, I'm gonna take this because it's already made like a pretty full melody, more or less. It's a pretty full melody. So I'll go ahead and highlight these two and send them or route them to a different track, so that this track can basically control those tracks together. So I'll name this melody. You can color code it as well. I'm particularly very organized about things like this. However, it's not always necessarily practical to be so organized in the middle of a session. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes you start sessions from scratch. Like me particularly, I like to start sessions from scratch. I don't usually use templates and things like that. I like to start everything from scratch, literally. But sometimes I do have templates. You know, templates are a really good thing. But like I said, I like to start things from scratch. It's just more fun. It's part of the process. I really enjoy it. You know what I'm saying? And you know, to each his own. But the whole point is that you know, you take this this melody basically, and you compress it so that it blends well together, and you want to make sure that it blends well together. So I went ahead and I put a stereo compressor on it from Waves, the 𝐊𝐄𝐃, which is a very popular compressor. You know, it's a whole different story, a whole different ball game. This is not necessarily a mixing tutorial, but I am making a beat, so I'll literally show you how I'm making a beat. If you want me to go into depth about anything else, just, you know, write me a comment or something. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and put the gain up a little bit and put the compression up a little bit as well. Peak reduction, and press play and see what that sounds like. Oh, I like to turn on this 60 hertz on the analog down here, just because I don't know, I feel like with the 60 hertz, it usually goes well with high frequency instruments. And then the 50 hertz usually goes well with the low frequency instruments. If you don't know what I'm talking about, like I said, just write me a comment and I will explain it in a different video. But anyway, here we go. Okay, so that sounds all right. Let's put an EQ on it. Let's just go with the Fruity Parametric EQ2, because that's a very popular and useful tool right there to sculpt your music and your sound. So here we are. I'm gonna go ahead and just from this point and just go ahead and take off the lows, because we're not looking for lows in this sound. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why we're not looking for lows in this sound is because what belongs in the low space is bass, kick, drum, you know what I'm saying? Things of that nature. Maybe if you're playing with some vocals and you want a low pitch, whatever, that's gonna end up more towards the low end of the spectrum, of the frequency spectrum. So this is a frequency spectrum. So this is the low part of the frequency spectrum. This is the high part. So I'm go ahead and shave off the lows, and let's see how that sounds. It sounds much better. As you can see, most of the energy is right here in the middle. So we kind of got to control that a little bit. So let's see how that sounds. Much better. I also want to control the top end, so I'm gonna shave off some of the top by just making it a high cut. I like that. Okay, I like that. So it's a lot more controlled. So now I won't have to worry about, you know, volume problems and stuff like that, loudness issues. Just make sure it's not too loud from the jump when you put it in the mixer. So okay, that's the first step. Is make the melody. That's the first step. Second, usually, remember, there's no rules to this. You could do whatever you want, but you know, as long as you understand the standard things and the structure of things, then you can go willy-nilly with your style of workflow or whatever you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, we're gonna go hunting real quick for a kick. I don't always go with the kick right after the melody. What I usually do is go with the hi-hats right after the melody. But let's go into the kicks. Let me see what we got for kicks. I'm gonna go into chops, kids. You know, Chop is my dude. He be having some dope-ass sounds. You don't gotta mess with them too much, so. I like that. Okay, so I like my stuff to stand out. You know what I'm saying? Them kicks gotta stand out, hard body. You know what I mean? The melody gotta be nice. I know that the melody is like one of the most important part of the songs, but everybody has their own style, to each his own. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a professional instrument player. I've been doing this for long enough that I know what makes sense and what doesn't. But you won't hear too much intricacies in my melodies. They're not ridiculously complex. I mean, yes, there is a standard way of doing trap, you know what I'm saying? but I don't always put myself in a box either. I don't know, everything just sounds the same nowadays. You know, you want to stand out, you want to be different. I always grab a snare that sounds good with the kick as well. So I'm going to go ahead and look for that real quick as well. I'm going to stay within the same kit because usually these instrument kits usually have the sounds that match each other. Usually, you know what I'm saying? That's not to say that you need to do that. Like, you can really just mix and match and go crazy. I usually mix and match and go crazy, but, you know, for the sake of not getting extremely complex here, I'm going to stick to the same kit, and I'm going to choose a sound in the same kit. So, in this kit by Chop, once again, shout out to Chop, I went ahead and chose this glow snare. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that in the mix as well. So now we got a kick and a snare. You know what I'm saying? We'll leave these two percussion instruments for a little bit later, which are the hats and the claps and stuff like that. We'll let you know what else we're going to throw in there. But first of all, let's come up with this pattern real quick, with this quick kick snare pattern. Obviously, you know, trap is always going to be your every other blue row or whatever, every other blue column. I'm going to make another video explaining, like, you know, the basic trap drum line and all that. So you see that snare is always hidden in the same place. That, you know, that's kind of what defines the trap sound. So, all right, so we got a basic kick and snare pattern. Now, basically, what we got to do is come up with a little hat pattern, a little hi-hat pattern, real quick. Now, here, there's definitely no rules. Once again, you could go crazy with different hats that you pick. You don't have to pick a hi-hat to play the role of a hi-hat. In trap nowadays, people are using everything, so you know you can go crazy, but for the sake of this video, we're just gonna stick with the hat, you know, with the hi-hat, and we're gonna make a basic, I'm gonna say a 4-step, so we could go into it and work with the pattern. Let me see, sometimes it sounds good plain, so let's just hear it. It sounds good plain, but I think it could use a little pattern. And for the sake of the video, I want to show you how I work on my little hat patterns anyway. So, and this, once again, this is not how I always do it, but for the most part, it's kind of how I work. So I'll go and zoom in into the beginning, and I like to hear a little roll in the very beginning of the hat pattern. I don't know, it's just something about it lately that you know, I feel like it sounds good, you know what I mean? So I do a little roll and I see how it sounds, if it needs more or less or whatever, but here it goes. There you go, you know what I mean? It's already like sounding like really energetic, you know what I mean? So here we go. So as you can see, I went with something a little bit random, a little bit randomized, but I'm loving the way it sounds. It has a lot of energy and it's not, you know what I'm saying, it's not boring my ear. So I feel like I'm gonna keep this as a pattern and I'm gonna just continue working, you know what I mean? So I see that the snare sounds a little tiny bit plain, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some counter snare accents, you know what I mean? I like to call them, because they're not counter snares, because the counter snare will be a completely different instrument that would counter the snare, but I'm using the same exact snare in a different pitch to counter the main snare, you know what I'm saying? So that's a different way to approach that situation. It's good to vary the loudness or the velocity or the volume, whatever you want to call it, of each note, of each hit, of each transient, because what it does is creates dynamic in your music. When one thing is a little bit lower than the next, but the same pattern, you know what I'm saying? You could continue the same pattern, but within the same pattern, there's like little micro differences that creates more dynamic in your music. And that dynamic basically translates to excitement, you know what I'm saying, in the audience ear, you know what I mean? So just make those little tiny little variances, you know what I mean? Let me go ahead and search for a nice little clap that's gonna, or percussion instrument. Okay, I like that little percussion right there. I'm gonna trade this in for a little percussion, this clap. So, and just put little accents here and there, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? So there we got like a, you know, a basic pattern going now. This whole main pattern, what we're going to do with this whole main pattern is we are going to go here on the edit screen, and you see that it says pattern 1. We're going to go ahead and right click on it and go to split by channel. So this is going to split each one of those patterns into its own channel, and what you're going to do is highlight all of them and drag them into the edit playlist. And I'm gonna start from track 5. I like to leave space in my edit room for like different little edits or sounds that I just want to start throwing in. You know, I like to leave them at the top so I could just have more access or easier access to everything, especially when the project begins to get lengthy and you know, a lot of these tracks get used up and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You don't always want to start at the very top, you know, start piling stuff from the very top. I start at 5. Another thing that I like to put into the playlist to begin with is I go to the mixer and I right click on the master fader, and I do this usually towards the end of the track, but I'm gonna just do it now just to let you know, because I'm probably not gonna get to this part of the process because, you know, this is, like I said, this is not a mixing tutorial. This is just showing you how I work. So I'll go to create an automation clip, and I'll create that automation clip right there on the edit screen so I could control the volume here at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So whenever whenever I want there to be like some kind of drop in the beat or something like that, I'll go ahead and chop this up and make like a pattern here that I want the entire song to follow in terms of volume. Like when I want it to drop, you know what I'm saying, I'll create this drop here, you know what I mean? So I'll do something like this, and you know what I mean, it'll all fall into place, you know. There you go. So I'll do something like that, and it'll sound something like this when I play it. Put that in pattern mode. You see how it just dropped out right there? So that's basically, that's a volume automation. So I like to do that with the master bus so that I can control the master volume. But like I said, I usually do that towards the very end, so I can do like little, you know, little effects and little tricks and little dropouts and stuff like that. Little cool things, you know what I'm saying? So I'll leave that out for now because we're still gonna keep working on this pattern here. So now we got our basic beat here. Basically, if I play this, I can loop this. I can loop this forever, and somebody can rap on it, and that's it. We got a track, but it'll start to get boring after a while, probably, right? If you're listening to the same thing over and over and over again. So all it is basically about variation. There's so many different standards on how a song goes. You can sit and analyze different songs, different tracks from different artists and different genres. A lot of people argue that some structures of arranging your songs are more boring than others or more exciting than others and vice versa. But the truth is, it's all about style. This is why music is so beautiful and it's an art, because everybody is going to have their own touch. You either get on it or you don't. You know what I mean? And that's how it be sometimes. But, you know, it's good to be flexible, guys. I always say that. So anyways, we got this main beat here. I'll press play just so you can hear it, and I'll go ahead and select it so it won't just continue going past. It'll keep looping. Bass line is something that, not always, once again, but I'm gonna leave that for last. It's one of the most exciting parts about making music. One easy way that I've discovered of making beats is basically duplicating the basic beat, and just literally repeating it about 8 times across the edit playlist. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. So we have a whole bunch of repetitions, right? From this repetition, we're gonna create an introduction, a chorus, a verse, a chorus, a verse, a breakdown, a chorus, and an outro. So that's basically like one of the most basic arrangements of a song is intro, chorus, verse, breakdown, chorus, outro. Some songs don't have outros, some songs don't have intros, some songs don't have breakdowns, some songs don't have chorus. There's so many different ways you can go with it, you know what I mean? But I'm gonna show you how to do a basic song structure here. So I'm gonna go ahead and take off the kicks, take off the percussion, take off the hi-hats, take off the snares, and just leave the melody for the first 2 repetitions of that loop. Go ahead and get rid of that. And then we'll play that, and you'll see how it'll start pretty much like sounding like an intro. So you see, this is where I told you I like to leave space up here, because already you can hear where this is sounding like an intro. And the way that you really make it sound like an intro is by adding instruments that are going to create a buildup for that chorus to come in, or for that main part to really stand out. You know what I mean? So you wanna kind of like bring something that's gonna build up. You know what I mean? Something like a riser or a cymbal in reverse. You know what I mean? Like a crescendo. There's different things. There's many different things that you can use to build up for a drop. You know, the drop is basically the main part of a song. and it's usually where it includes the bass and the full melody, the most energy, basically. So I'm looking for a cymbal. I'm gonna just stick to chop here. Here we go. Yeah, it never fails. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that on this track up here. I'm going to select it, click on it twice, and I'm going to reverse it. And I'm also going to add it to a track in the mixer by pressing this, so that I can manipulate how loud that's going to come in. And I just want to make sure that I zoom in here, because that buildup is going to come in right before the drop. And I want to make sure of that. Sometimes when you reverse these instrument sounds, they don't always end up exactly where you want them. So you want to zoom in and just make sure that it's perfectly where you want it to be when you press play. Here it goes. Like I said, it's not finalized, but for the most part, you can see how it helps build up that drive right before the drop comes in. We haven't even done the 808s yet. When we get there, that's when it's really going to sound exciting. But anyways, back to the edit playlist window. We're going to play, just for the sake of this tutorial, not to be too long, I'm going to leave just 2 repetitions of this loop. We're going to count this as 8 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4 times 2. So that would be 8 bars. So after the 8 bars, we're going to go ahead and get rid of the hi-hats and the front of the snares, so that the snares could start coming in a little bit after, and then the hi-hat could come in even later. We'll press play. You see, so that's already sounding like a little variation where the lead rap vocal is going to stand out, because some elements of the beat drop out. So yeah, so then we're also going to make some variations here by cutting out the end of the hi-hats. We can cut the end of one of the kicks and just leave the snare there. And then what's going to happen here is that we're going to create a little breakdown where the only thing you're going to hear here is the bass and the main melody. And then it's going to come back to the chorus. So when coming back to the chorus, all we'll have to do is select that part where the chorus began in the first place and paste it where it goes again. You know what I mean? So now you see that your song is growing. You're developing a song from just the first group of instruments that you had organized in the first place. If we want to create a shorter song, which is probably what I'm going to do here, because this video is running a little bit longer than I expected, I'm going to go ahead and double up on this chorus here. And then add a little tail for the outro, which is going to consist of just the main melody, again, just like in the beginning. And also, I'm going to go ahead and create that automation clip of the master track, of the master volume, and we're going to start a dropout here. So this is going to start dropping out. So it's going to start fading away pretty much when the song is ending. So we're going to select all of that. So, yeah, you'll see how it sounds real quick. Okay, so we see how it goes into the verse. Now from the verse, it's going to go into the breakdown. Remember, this can get a lot more extended in many different ways. Right now, this song is only about 1.5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? This beat is only about 1.5 minutes. But, you know, when you create beats, you don't always create the full song. Sometimes you just create a piece and then you send it to the artist and see if they want to jump on it. Once they say yes, they want to jump on it, they'll let you know whether they want you to extend it or how they want you to extend it and give you details and such. The intro here, I got the chorus here, I got the verse here, I got the breakdown here, I got the chorus here. If I wanted to, I could have gone into another verse, but instead of bringing another verse, I'm going to cut this song short and I'm just going to double up on the chorus. So I'll get 2 choruses and then a little outro here. So this is what the breakdown is going to sound a little bit more or less. You see, but with bass, with the bass on it. And then from that breakdown is going to go into the chorus again, where I'll create another type of crescendo or some kind of build-up, you know what I mean, for that. And then the outro is going to sound like this. So anyways, last but not least, let's go into these 808s. I like that 808 there, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that into the rack real quick. Okay, here we go. Bow. So now we're going to create a basic pattern, basic 8-bar pattern for our 808. I'm going to put this in piano roll, and I'm also going to create a whole new channel just for the 808. 808, name that. I'm going to take this empty clip and put it into the playlist and extend it so it knows that I want at least 8 bars to play with. All right, so once we got that settled, now we can click on the piano roll and start making a pattern. So we'll listen to the beat a little bit. I'll put it in song mode. Okay, so I found a little pattern that I think I'm going to stick with. Just like I said, for the sake of this video. And put the metronome on. And press play. Oh, let me start that over again. All right, so there's a little pattern there we could use. Here's what that sounds like. Let me turn off the metronome. And then let me just go real quick into the mixing of that 808 real quick, because that 808, it sounds good by itself, but when you play it in context with everything else, it sounds a little crazy. So we're going to have to mix that, you know what I'm saying? Just because that doesn't mean that we can't use it. It just means that we have to kind of make it work. And not all sounds are compatible with each other, no matter how much you try to make it work. It's, you know what I'm saying? But that doesn't mean you can't try, especially if you like the sounds that you selected. When you realize it just doesn't sound that great, then just scratch it and just do something else, you know what I mean? But anyways, the first thing I'm going to do is click on that instrument in the channel rack, and I'm going to click on this loop point thing, use loop point. I'll take that off. For some reason, it just sounds better. Plus, cut itself. I use the cut self here, and then I'm going to route this track so that we can mix in the mix window. So already it's going to sound a little bit better, because by cutting it, that means that it's not overlapping with the next note. And you know that the bass note is a really long note. You know what I'm saying? It lasts usually past the next note, doesn't stop when the next note happens. So this ensures that that note stops when the next note starts, which, you know what I'm saying, it's good for the ear, because if you're letting it all overlap, it's just all going to sound crazy messy. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a whole bunch of sounds just overlapping on top of each other. It doesn't sound good at all. So I'm going to the piano roll a little bit. I heard a little tiny inconsistency, so I'm going to go ahead and throw that. Just shift that note a little bit over. And this one too. And this one too, so everything could just sound kosher with the whole mix. Let's see how this sounds. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put this bass line in the drop so that it sounds good. So that sounds good. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that there. I'm going to pull this 808 clip a little bit back just so that it could start without the 808 and then let the 808 come in along with the snare in the verse. And then I'm going to also repeat the 808 during the breakdown, so the 808 is going on during the whole breakdown. And then it's also going to go on during the next two choruses. And then it's also going to go on the outro so that it doesn't sound exactly the same as the intro. So as you can see, I'm explaining to you the psychology of how I'm creating the beat and why I'm putting things where I'm putting them. It's basically variety. You have to vary so that you don't bore the audience. You know, you just have to put things in a different place, create different patterns and such. And, you know, all of this is super basic and might sound a little bit repetitive. So, you know what I'm saying? You can do things like go into this clip here for the hi-hats and create a duplicate, clone that, and the clone's going to be right under it. You're going to double click that and then just create a different version that might have, I don't know, the rolls at different pitches. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just put it in a different pitch, and just play with it. You see how it sounds. Like, I know that this ain't gonna sound bad. I just know because I've been doing this for a while. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta play with it. You gotta see what it's gonna sound like. You know what I mean? Just put the rolls in different pitches, and just see what they sound like. You know. I just get crazy with it, man. You know, this is, like I said, this is a whole separate copy of a different one. So then I'll go in there and I'll go into, like, let's say the verse part, and I'll take out the hi-hats that were in the verse and I'll replace them with this second version of hi-hats so that it doesn't sound the same as the chorus. I'll stick them in the breakdown as well, just to vary. And we'll see what that sounds like. usually right before the second chorus or the third chorus, I would go ahead and create a little manual dropout by, let's see, zooming into this real quick. And going into the breakdown, let's say, and then just kind of like pulling back the end, like 2 quick little lines, and then see how that sounds and helps the drop. You see, so taking sounds away right before the big sound comes in helps a lot to build up for that, you know, that excitement of the big drop. The big drop sounds bigger when the things around it sound smaller. That makes sense. You know what I mean? So that's what the drop is. Then I'll go ahead and take my OK Beatz watermark and just sprinkle that in there real quick. Go into my custom kit and just sprinkle that in the beginning, and once again, and take another one and sprinkle that towards the end. The trick to it is don't make it too loud and overpowering, especially if we're going to use it a lot. But experience has just taught me don't use it a lot. Don't use it too much. Just, you know, make it a signature. Do it where it counts, where it's going to be heard, and not where it's taking away from the artist's vocal. So I put it in the very beginning so you can hear it. You're not going to miss it if it's in the very beginning. And then I put it at the very end, because if you make it to the end, then I just want you to remember that was an OK Beatz production. So that's my psychology behind that a little bit. We'll listen to this beat, see what else it needs, then, you know, call it a wrap. We'll see.
Okay, Beatz.
I told you I wasn't going to go into the mixing, but while we're listening to the entire song, I'll go ahead and mix it a little bit so you can get a glimpse of how I mix. And then by the end of the song, it should sound a lot better, or at least a little bit better. So yeah, just check out what I'm doing in my mixer window while the song is playing. Since we're starting out, let me see, hold on. I'll go ahead and map out everything else that we haven't mapped out into the mixer window. Like 1 to 4 has not been mapped out yet, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the mixer window so we can mix that. And what else is not? Okay, everything else seems to be except the watermarks. I'll go ahead and put that in its own channel as well. Believe it or not, you got to mix that too. It can't be too high in volume and it can't stand out too much. So we'll put both of those in the same place. And then I'll turn it down a little bit so it doesn't sound too overpowering. Let's get out of this and press play.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and name this OK Beatz logo. Turn this down. My kicks usually go orange. This is, once again, this is important to do. Not exactly during the session, but definitely after the session. My percussion goes yellowish. The higher in frequency it gets, the brighter the yellow gets. It's just an organizational tool so you can know what's what and what's where. The snare is also going to be like some kind of orangey yellow, because it's all percussion and you know, high frequency instruments. The melodies, I like them to go like a purple, usually, or a blue, something with a hue and some kind of hue. So, oh, we can't forget about this cymbal. This cymbal is part of the drum group, so I'm going to go ahead and bring it all together. I like to keep all of my drums together, and then all of my melodies together, and then my bass is the first thing on the mixer. OK Beatz logo is the very last thing. And anything else you throw in, like percussions, keys, pianos, you know, effects too. I'm going to show you how to do a little effects thing too. All of those things, you give them all its own color code so that you can know exactly what's what and just how to get to things. I usually make my 808s red, by the way, so my 808 track usually red. Let's go to the effect. Let's do some effects thing here real quick. I'm gonna use this one as my reverb. So I'm just gonna go ahead and name it verb. Use this one as my delay. And both of those tracks are going to be green. And also they're going to be stereo separated totally. So yeah, so anything basically that I want to have some kind of reverb, I'll go ahead and send it to the reverb. You know what I'm saying? Not too much, but just give it like a little, you know what I'm saying, a little tail. And then I'll also send it to like the delay. Not always, but if I want it to really stand out, I will. For reverb, I usually use the FL Studio reverb is pretty good. I go not always like big, I go small and with high decay and really wet, because I'm gonna end up turning down the volume of the reverb in the mixer track. The delay that I usually go for is the Fruity Delay 3, which is very good because I like the modulation that it offers. I like the sound of its modulation. So usually put the dry signal a little bit lower. I put the level of the feedback low as well. The cutoff is gonna be like almost halfway, and then the time is gonna go past halfway. So that's gonna create a nice little delay there. And then the tone, I like, you know, kind of weirdish tones. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring the tone down a little bit. So it's gonna bring down kind of like a vintagey vibe, I guess. You know what I mean? We'll turn down the feedback level up a little bit. So let's hear what this cymbal is gonna sound like. Pay attention to the cymbal when it gets there. And also just listen to everything else, how it sounds as I mess with the levels here.
Okay, Beatz.
So everything sounds pretty good. If you're not satisfied with how the level sounds, I guess, like everything sounds good, but it's just not loud enough, kind of, then just go to the master bus. There's a limiter on there. Open up that limiter and just put the volume up. You know, just put the gain up for as high as you want it. Just don't go, you know, clipping and adding. Just don't go clipping and adding crazy distortion. You know, just listen to it very carefully and put it up. You know, increase it until it starts sounding bad. When it starts sounding bad, then you have to just back up. Just back off of that. All right. So just listen to it, and you know it should sound better. But that's pretty much it, guys. Like, you know, that's how usually OK Beatz approaches with the productions. So that's basically, you know what I'm saying, like pretty much the whole beat. But you know, it's like I said, it's not necessarily a whole song. It's not necessarily the finished version or anything like that. But it's just something that you guys can use to understand more or less how, you know what I'm saying, how to start a beat, how to make a beat, how to develop a beat. You know what I mean? Just some ideas and stuff like that, guys. That's that's usually the beginning of a beat. Nothing too crazy. You know, check us out at okbeats.com. We have plenty of content there. I have plenty of artists that I work with. Kilo Bryan, Chapo 156, Jandiel Elene Royal, yours truly, Kevin King Supreme. My music is on there, Hard Body. Please, man, check us out. Check us out on Instagram, OK Beatz, or Kevin King Supreme. Exactly how it's spelled. Kevin King Supreme. So, my peoples, I'm going to let y'all listen to the beat as we ride out. And I hope to see y'all again, man. Thanks for watching. This has been really fun. It's been really fun. Take care.